The 30th of December carries a peculiar energy. Not the wholesome miracle on ice kind. I'm talking about the authentic variety, where your residence resembles a holiday catalog, radiates cooking channel aromas, and pulses with the tension of a diplomatic crisis. Our living space had been transformed into a showpiece. Evergreen garlands draped across the fireplace mantle like emerald scarves. String lights flickered in sequences that announced festivity, while simultaneously triggering the dull throb behind my eyes. The Christmas tree dominated its corner, towering and self-satisfied, laden with decorations Christie proclaimed were tasteful, because their price tags exceeded my monthly car insurance. Everything looked picture-perfect, provided you overlooked the fact that Christie moved through our home like a drill sergeant conducting a white-glove inspection of a facility that had catastrophically failed its last review. "Why are these napkins positioned here?" she demanded, clutching the stack as though it had personally insulted her lineage. "Because that's the designated napkin location," I responded in the measured tone I reserve for customer service representatives and people who cut lines at the grocery store. She examined me as if I'd just confessed ignorance about basic physics. "Incorrect," she stated, relocating them 3 inches leftward. "Their proper placement is here." "Ah, naturally. 3 inches, absolutely life-altering." She returned to the kitchen. I trailed behind, not from desire, but because years had taught me that proximity during her event mode provided more safety than distance. When I disappeared from view, she'd manufacture tasks. When visible, she could simply critique my respiratory patterns in real time. The kitchen emanated incredible scents. Roasted proteins, cinnamon, citrus, something buttery, something sugary. She'd been cooking since midday, as though we were catering a small nation celebration. "Need assistance?" I inquired. She didn't glance up. "Don't touch anything." "Understood," I said. "I'll stand here providing moral support and consuming oxygen." She produced a sound that might have been laughter if you were generous. I took my assignment seriously. Leaning against the counter, I observed her work. She was striking. Everyone acknowledged this. The mirror knew it. The entire universe knew it. Hair flawless. Makeup precise. Holiday sweater that somehow appeared designer, rather than like she'd been ambushed by reindeer. But her eyes, they carried that tight, controlled gleam indicating she wasn't preparing dinner, but orchestrating a performance, and I was merely part of the staging. "Ensure the glassware is immaculate," she instructed. "It is." "Verify again." I verified again. They remained glasses. Still spotless. Still not about to undergo moral transformation. "Christie," I said lightly, "if one more item requires spotlessness, I'll assume you're constructing an altar." She pivoted. Her smile appeared quick, polite, and hollow, like a tip jar at a vegan steakhouse. "Just don't be peculiar tonight," she said. I blinked. "Define peculiar." "You know," she said, gesturing vaguely as if the concept were self-evident. "Your humor, your demeanor." "My demeanor," I echoed. "Yes," she said, as though my demeanor had personally devastated her childhood. I raised both hands. "Understood. Tonight I'll embody a silent contemplative. I'll communicate exclusively through benedictions." She rolled her eyes. "See? That? Right?" I said. "No benedictions." By December 31st evening, our residence resembled a glossy publication spread. Ambient lighting, impeccable table arrangement, cuisine displayed like artwork, music playing softly. The atmosphere suggested luxury celebration. The energy screamed, if you misplace your utensil, someone perishes. Before the first guest's arrival, she conducted a final inspection, the kind performed before royalty enters. She adjusted candles, smoothed table runners, repositioned a bowl of tangerines with the intensity of someone defusing explosives. Then she turned toward me. "What are you wearing?" I looked down at myself. Dark shirt, quality trousers, polished shoes. A man who comprehended the assignment. "This," I stated. Her eyes scanned me like airport security equipment. "That shirt is acceptable." I waited. In our marriage, acceptable functioned as loaded weaponry. "Okay," I said. "I can change." She exhaled sharply as if I'd requested her kidney. "No, don't. Just." She paused, her lips compressing into a line. "Try appearing confident." I nearly laughed. "Appear confident." "Yes. I'll just retrieve my confidence from the drawer adjacent to my socks. Perhaps coordinate it with the decor." "I'll do my utmost," I said. "Perhaps I'll flex before the mirror." "Don't," she said instantly. The doorbell chimed. Guests flooded in. Friends, colleagues, neighbors, people with rosy cheeks from cold air and gifts wrapped in pristine paper. The room filled with fragrance, laughter, and polite compliments. Your tree is absolutely gorgeous. Your home resembles a film set. The aroma in here is incredible. Christy radiated. This was her element. She didn't host people, she curated them. I circulated, greeting arrivals, collecting coats, offering beverages, smiling, performing the charming husband role. And I was convincing. I'm not socially incompetent. I understand conversation. I can read rooms. I've delivered presentations in boardrooms filled with executives who consider emotions weakness and still emerged unscathed. But with Christy, different rules applied. Because she didn't want me to simply exist. She wanted me to exist correctly. She passed while I conversed with one of her colleagues and lightly touched my elbow, a signal, a correction. You're holding the bottle incorrectly, she murmured, smiling at the group as though she'd said something endearing. I examined the bottle in my hand. It was upright, not leaking, not combusting. How should I hold it? I whispered back. Like you've done this before, she said. Just like that, several people laughed. Not substantial laughs, the small ones. The "oh, that's playful" variety. I smiled because I'm not foolish. Before guests, you don't initiate conflict. You don't create scenes. You don't hand your wife a microphone and say, "Tell everyone your actual thoughts about me." So I smiled, adjusted my grip on the bottle as though learning to cradle a newborn. Later, I delivered a joke near the appetizer table. Something harmless, self-deprecating. Her friend Gina laughed, a genuine laugh. Christy materialized from nowhere. "Don't encourage him," she said, laughing too. "He'll start believing he's funny." Gina smiled awkwardly. "I mean, it was funny." Christy's smile persisted, but her eyes didn't. "Yeah, he has moments. Moments, like a dog that occasionally performs tricks." I raised my glass slightly. "I'll be here all week." A couple people chuckled. Somebody examined their drink. Christy leaned in, voice sweet. "Lower your voice." I blinked. "Just not so loud," she said, still smiling at the room. "It's somewhat excessive." I stared at her for half a second, long enough for her to notice, short enough to avoid awkwardness. Then I nodded. "Sure." I didn't feel angry yet. Not fully. More like sensing the shape of something forming, like a bruise you detect before it turns purple. We moved into the dining area. Everyone took seats. Plates clinked. The first champagne cork popped. That electric crack that makes people cheer, even after hearing it 1,000 times. We raised glasses. "To a new year," someone said. "To health, to wealth," another joked. I lifted mine. "To surviving December." People laughed. "Good, normal." Christy laughed too. Then she added, "Yeah, some of us barely made it." Her eyes flicked toward me, just quick enough for only me to catch. I held her gaze and smiled as though we were sharing an inside joke. But there was nothing inside it. Dinner flowed. People talked. Conversations overlapped. Someone mentioned travel plans. Someone complained about work. Someone bragged about a promotion. I jumped into a discussion about a project I'd recently led, something I was genuinely proud of. I wasn't bragging, just participating like a normal human at a dinner table. One of her colleagues asked, "So you're managing the entire team now?" "Yeah," I said. "It's demanding but rewarding. You know how it is, delegate, keep people focused." Christy cut in, laughing. "Oh, please." "He tries." The air shifted. Not dramatically. Just a small tightening, like someone pulled a thread. I paused. The colleague chuckled politely. "I'm sure he does more than try." Christy waved a hand. "He's very dedicated in his own way." In his own way, like a toddler helps by throwing spoons on the floor. I took a slow sip of champagne, letting the bubbles burn, descending. I could have said something sharp, something that would have made her blink. I had options. I always have options. But I watched the faces around the table. People were in holiday mode, soft smiles. Nobody wanted drama. Nobody wanted to feel like they'd walked into something. So I didn't strike. I filed it away. Christy continued like she'd tasted blood and enjoyed it. "You know what's amusing?" she said, turning to the group. "He's so domestic. Like if there's a crisis, he'll go fold laundry." A few people laughed. I leaned back in my chair. "That's inaccurate," I said mildly. "I also vacuum." More laughter, bigger this time. Good. Let them laugh at my joke, not hers. But Christy didn't appreciate losing control of the laughter. She tilted her head, smiling. "See? That's what I mean. He thinks he's charming." I smiled back. "I don't think it. I have evidence." Her eyes narrowed for a fraction of a second. Then she lifted her glass. "Anyway," she said brightly, "let me tell you all this story." And I felt it, that little shift again, the thread pulling tighter. Because when she announced a story, she wasn't just sharing. She was setting a stage. Christy cleared her throat in that manner people employ when seeking attention while pretending otherwise. "So," she said, smiling at the table, "you know how every couple has that thing?" A few heads nodded. Someone said, "Oh, absolutely. I already knew this wouldn't be about how I make excellent coffee or remember birthdays." She leaned her elbow on the table, chin in hand, casual, relaxed, like a late-night talk show host. "There was this one time," she continued, "when we had a situation, a pretty important one. And I'm standing there waiting, thinking, okay, he's going to step up now." She looked at me and smiled. I smiled back. Inside, I was already inventorying exits. But instead, she laughed, he just froze completely, like a deer in headlights. A ripple of laughter moved across the table. She shrugged. "I mean, it was kind of adorable and a wow, I really married this way." Someone snorted. Someone else quickly sipped their drink. I felt something click into place. Not anger, not hurt, clarity. She wasn't improvising. She was performing. And I realized, she went on, warming up now, that if I don't handle things, they just don't get handled. She raised her glass slightly. "So cheers to being the man of the house." More laughter, louder this time. I set my fork down carefully. The clink was quiet, but intentional. "Funny story," I said calmly. The room paused just a hair. Christy turned toward me, eyebrows lifted. "Yeah," I said. "You forgot the part where I solved the situation an hour later and saved us considerable money." She waved a hand. "Details." "Interesting choice of details," I replied, still smiling. A couple of people shifted in their chairs. She leaned back, laughing. "See? This is what I mean. He gets defensive." I nodded. "Only when I'm being publicly reviewed." That earned a few uncomfortable chuckles. She tilted her head. "Oh, come on. It's just a joke." "Of course it is," I said. "You're hilarious." Her smile tightened. She didn't appreciate that the laugh wasn't fully hers anymore. She pivoted quickly. "But seriously," she said to the table, "he's not exactly decisive. If I didn't push him, he'd still be selecting a toothpaste brand." That one landed. Real laughter, unfiltered. Someone said, "Hey, at least he's thorough." She jumped on it. "Oh, extremely. Takes him weeks to choose a side." "Choose a side." I raised my glass. "In my defense, I prefer to think." She laughed. "See that tone?" "What tone?" I asked. "That passive one." "Ah, passive, the favorite label." I leaned back, crossing my arms loosely. "You mean calm?" "No," she said quickly. "I mean soft." Soft. There it was. The table went quiet for half a second too long. Someone coughed. Someone else looked at their plate like it contained secrets. I felt it then, the exact moment I stopped trying to win the room. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't playful teasing. This was positioning. She needed me smaller, so she could feel bigger. I looked around the table, faces smiling politely, a few sympathetic glances, nobody stepping in. Nobody saying, "Hey, that's enough." That's when the thought hit me clear as day. "Oh, I'm not a guest here. I'm the entertainment." Christy continued, emboldened by the silence. "You know," she said, "he's great in his own way. Very reliable. Reliable, like an appliance. But leadership," she chuckled. "Not his thing." I leaned forward slightly. "You're right," I said. She blinked. The table blinked. "Yeah," I continued. "Leadership isn't about talking the most at dinner." A few people shifted again. "It's about knowing when to let someone embarrass themselves." Silence. Not dramatic, not explosive, just quiet. She laughed a beat too late. "Wow. Someone sensitive." I smiled. "Nah, just observant." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she took a sip of champagne, buying herself a second. Then she smiled wider, sharper. "You always do this," she said. "Turn everything into a thing." "I didn't start the thing," I replied. "I'm just in it." Someone cleared their throat. "So, dessert looks amazing." "Bless that person." The conversation shifted. People started talking again. The spell broke. But the damage was done. I didn't say much after that. I didn't need to. I sat there with my drink, listening, watching. And the thought kept looping in my head, steady and calm. I'm not angry. I'm done. When the last guest finally departed, coats on, hugs exchanged, "Happy New Year," echoing down the hallway, The house fell silent in that artificial way houses do after company. The music was still playing. Something cheerful, something inappropriate. She turned to me the second the door closed. "What the hell was that?" she snapped. I removed my jacket slowly. "You mean the part where you roasted me like a holiday ham?" Her eyes widened. "Oh my God. Are you serious right now?" "Yes," I said. "I am." She threw her hands up. "You embarrassed me." I blinked. "Interesting. You couldn't just take a joke," she continued. Everyone was laughing. "Yeah," I said. "At me?" "No," she said sharply. "With us." I tilted my head. "That's not how it felt." She scoffed. "Because you always feel attacked." I leaned against the counter. "I told you calmly that it bothered me." "You ruined the night," she said. "I worked all day on this, and you made it awkward." I laughed quietly. I couldn't help it. She frowned. "What's funny?" "The speed," I said. "You went from 'it's just a joke' to 'this is all your fault' in under 30 seconds. She crossed her arms. "You're twisting things." "Am I?" I asked. "Because it feels like I just sat through a live demonstration of how I'm supposed to take hits and smile." Her voice sharpened. "I never said that." "You didn't have to," I replied. "You showed it." She shook her head. "You're imagining things." "Ah, there it is. Gaslighting right on schedule." "You're too sensitive," she added. "Normal people wouldn't react like this." I nodded slowly. "Good to know I'm not normal." She sighed dramatically. "I can't believe I'm the bad guy now." I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't confused. She wasn't remorseful. She was annoyed. That was the moment something inside me fully disengaged. I picked up my glass, took a final sip, and set it down. "I'm going to bed," I said. She stared at me. "We're not done talking." "No," I said calmly. "You're not done talking." "I am." She opened her mouth to respond. I walked away. New Year's morning didn't feel new. It felt like the hangover you get without drinking. Heavy, dull, and vaguely insulting. The house was quiet. No music, no laughter. Just the soft hum of appliances and the faint smell of last night's success pretending it hadn't already rotted. I woke before her. That alone told me a lot. Normally, she liked controlling mornings too. Wake first, set the tone, decide whether the day would be pleasant or require emotional protective equipment. But that morning, she stayed in bed, silent, withdrawn, strategic. I made coffee. Strong, bitter, honest. I stood by the kitchen window, watching snow fall like it was trying to erase the street. Good luck with that. Some things stick. She eventually emerged wrapped in a robe, hair messy in that deliberate, effortless way. She didn't say good morning. She poured herself coffee and sat at the table across from me, scrolling on her phone like I was a piece of furniture she'd already decided not to keep. I let the silence breathe. Then I said casually, "So are we pretending last night didn't happen? Or are we doing the Cold War thing?" She didn't look up. "I don't want to fight." I nodded. "Cool. Neither do I. I just don't enjoy being publicly dismantled." She sighed loudly, a performance sigh. "You're still on that?" "Yes," I said. "I'm famously consistent." She finally looked at me. "I already told you it was a joke." "Right," I said. "And the part where you called me soft?" She rolled her eyes. "I didn't call you soft. You said it at the table." "No, I didn't," she said instantly. Too instantly. I smiled. "That's impressive. You erased it faster than I could replay it." "You're exaggerating," she snapped. "You want to be offended." I took a sip of coffee. "Nobody wants that." "Well, you're acting like a victim," she said. "And honestly, it's exhausting." There it was again. The pivot. I wasn't hurt. I was inconvenient. "I didn't raise my voice," I said. "I didn't embarrass you. I told you privately that it crossed a line." "And I told you," she replied, "that you're making it a bigger deal than it was." I leaned back. "So my feelings are incorrect." She shrugged. "They're disproportionate." I laughed quietly. "You know what's funny?" She frowned. "What?" "You keep saying everyone laughed. But I noticed you never asked if I was okay." Her jaw tightened. "Because you weren't supposed to take it personally." I stared at her. "It was about me." She stood abruptly. "I'm not doing this." She walked back toward the bedroom, phone in hand, conversation closed. Or so she thought. I didn't follow. I didn't argue. I just sat there sipping my coffee, replaying the night frame by frame, not emotionally, logically. And that's when something shifted. Because when you remove the emotion, patterns get loud. Later that afternoon, she changed into running gear. "I'm going for a run," she said, already checking her watch. No details, no invitation. I cleaned, not angrily, methodically. Clearing the table, washing glasses, erasing the evidence of celebration. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Once, twice. Normally I wouldn't look. Not because I was morally superior, because I'd never needed to. Trust is lazy like that. But this time, curiosity didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like due diligence. I glanced at the screen. Her best friend's name, and a preview of the message. Did he react the way you thought he would? I didn't move for a second. Then I picked up the phone. I know how that sounds. But when your house is on fire, you don't worry about muddying your shoes. The messages were already open. She hadn't bothered hiding them. Why would she? Her, I swear he's so predictable. Friend, LOL, did he shut down? Her, of course. That quiet stare thing. Friend, you knew he would. Her, someone has to remind him who runs things. I felt calm. Not numb, not shocked, just calm. I scrolled. Friend, was he mad after? Her, a little. But I flipped it. Told him he ruined the vibe. Friend, queen. Her, honestly, if I don't keep him in check, he gets ideas. Gets ideas like respect. Like dignity. There were earlier messages too. From before the party. That's what really did it. Her, I'm gonna tell that story tonight. Friend, the one about the decision thing? Her, yep. He hates it. Friend, good. He needs to feel small sometimes. Her, exactly. Otherwise he forgets. For a moment, I wondered if this was a joke. Some exaggerated venting. Then I remembered her tone, her timing, her confidence. No. This wasn't impulse. This was rehearsal. She hadn't lost control at the table. She'd taken it. I set the phone down exactly where it was. No shaking hands. No racing heart. Just a single clean thought settling in. So this is who you are. I didn't confront her right away. That's the thing people don't understand. You don't rush clarity. You let it finish forming. She came back from her run, flushed and focused, like she'd just outrun something important. Leggings, hoodie, hair pulled back tight. That look on her face that said she'd spent the last 30 minutes reorganizing her thoughts into something neat and victorious. She dropped her shoes by the door and went straight to the bathroom. I'm going to shower, she said. Not a request. A statement. Take your time, I replied. And I meant it. I didn't touch the phone again. I didn't need to. Once you see the blueprint, you don't need to keep staring at the building. She came out 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, skin warm, confidence restored. I was sitting at the table, waiting. She slowed down. Noticed the posture, the stillness. What's with the interrogation vibe? She asked lightly. I smiled. No interrogation. Just a conversation. She sat across from me, arms crossing instinctively. Defense mode. Okay, she said. Say it. I took a breath. Not to calm myself, I already was. But to choose my words carefully. You planned it, I said. Her brow furrowed. Planned what? The jokes. The story. The timing. She scoffed. Are you still on that? I saw the messages, I said. Silence. Not the dramatic kind. The kind that happens when a script goes missing. Her eyes flicked just once to the counter where her phone was charging. Then back to me. You went through my phone, she said sharply. I nodded. Yes. How dare you, she snapped. That's a huge invasion of privacy. I leaned back. Interesting. That's what you're leading with. She stood up. So now you're spying on me? Wow. That's low. No, I said calmly. Lo was rehearsing my humiliation like a dinner special. Her face hardened. You're twisting things. Am I? I asked. Because did he react the way you thought he would? Feels pretty specific. She opened her mouth, closed it, then regrouped. You're completely misinterpreting that. Okay, I said. Explain it to me. She exhaled sharply. We were venting. Women vent. You didn't vent, I replied. You coordinated. That's ridiculous. You said I need to feel small sometimes. Her jaw clenched. You weren't supposed to see that. I smiled. That's not a denial. She paced now back and forth, bare feet on hardwood. You know what? She said. I'm not apologizing for being honest with my friend. That's fine, I said. I'm not asking for an apology. She stopped. Then what do you want? I met her eyes. I want you to understand that you don't get to do this anymore. She laughed, not amused. Disbelieving. Do what? Manage me, I said. Shrink me. Perform dominance through jokes. She crossed her arms. You're overreacting. There it is, I said softly. That's your favorite line. She shook her head. You're acting like I abused you. No, I said. You acted like I was beneath you. That is not the same thing. It is, I replied. Just quieter. She stared at me, trying to recalibrate. This wasn't going the way it usually did. I made you who you are, she said suddenly. I blinked. Wow. What? She snapped. It's true. Before me you were. She searched for the word. Unpolished. I nodded slowly. And there it is. She leaned forward. I pushed you. I motivated you. If I didn't challenge you, you'd still be comfortable doing nothing. I smiled. You didn't challenge me. You controlled me. She laughed sharply. Men always say that when they can't handle a strong woman. I tilted my head. Strong women don't need an audience to feel powerful. That landed. She went quiet. Then her voice changed. Softer, calculated. So what? She said. You're going to throw everything away because of some jokes? No, I said. I'm leaving because you don't respect me. She scoffed. That's dramatic. I don't think so, I replied. Respect isn't loud. It's consistent. She shook her head. You're making a huge mistake. Possibly, I said. But it'll be mine. Her eyes narrowed. You won't last without me. I smiled. That's what every system says when it's losing control. She stepped closer. You think you're better than me now? No, I said honestly. I think I'm equal. And you hate that? Her voice rose. After everything I've done for you. I stood up. Not fast, not aggressive. Just enough to end the conversation physically as well as verbally. I'm done explaining myself, I said. This isn't a debate. She stared at me like I'd just broken a rule she thought was permanent. You're really doing this, she said. Yes. You're walking away over nothing. No, I said. I'm walking away from clarity. She followed me to the bedroom. You're being selfish. I packed calmly, methodically. You'll regret this, she said. Maybe, I replied. But I won't regret staying quiet. She scoffed. You'll come back. I zipped the bag. No, I said. I won't. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked uncertain. Not angry, not superior, just unsure. And that told me everything. She followed me into the hallway, like someone chasing a receipt after realizing they'd been overcharged. This is insane, she said. You're throwing away years over a misunderstanding. I slipped on my shoes. Slow, deliberate. It's not a misunderstanding, I said. It's a pattern. She crossed her arms again. That move was muscle memory armor. So what? She said. You're just going to leave and tell people I'm the villain? I looked up at her. No. She blinked. No. I don't need to tell anyone anything, I said. You do that yourself. Her lips parted slightly. That wasn't the answer she expected. She tried a different angle. Softer now, concerned, almost warm. You're emotional, she said gently. Let's just sleep on it. I smiled. You've been telling me to calm down for years. I finally did. She reached out, touching my arm. Light, calculated. Come on, she said. Don't be dramatic. I looked at her hand, then back at her face. You know what's dramatic? I said. Humiliating your partner for applause. She pulled her hand back like she'd touched something hot. Her voice shifted again, sharper. You think anyone's going to take your side? I'm not collecting sides, I replied. She laughed bitterly. You won't survive alone. I shrugged. I survived being married. That one finally broke through. Her face hardened. You're ungrateful. There it is, I said. The final label. She stepped closer. After everything I opened the door. Cold air rushed in, sharp and clean. Snow crunched under my shoes. I turned back one last time. You didn't invest in me, I said calmly. You tried to own me. She stared at me, eyes flashing. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. But tonight I respect myself. She scoffed. You'll come crawling back. I shook my head. No. You trained me to be quiet. You forgot to check if I was listening. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to say something else. Something real. Instead, she straightened her shoulders. Good luck, she said coldly. I nodded. You too. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. No slam, no final speech, just a click. The street was empty. Snow falling steadily, covering footprints as fast as they appeared. I stood there for a second, breathing in the cold. It felt honest. I walked. Not fast, not angry, just forward. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't being managed. I wasn't being corrected. I wasn't being reduced to a punchline. I was just Matthew walking into a quiet night. And that was enough. People love asking what happened after. As if life hands out clean summaries. As if there's a montage with music and captions. There wasn't. There was paperwork, silence, logistics, the unsexy stuff. We didn't explode. We didn't reconcile. We didn't have a dramatic, one last coffee. We just separated like two lines that finally stopped pretending they were parallel. She told people I had a breakdown. That was her favorite version. That I couldn't handle a joke. That I got insecure. That I changed. She framed it like a tragedy where she was forced to survive my weakness. I didn't correct her. I learned something important after I left. You don't win by defending yourself against a narrative written for applause. I moved into a small place. Nothing impressive. Clean, quiet, no performance lighting, no audience. The first night, I slept like someone who had returned borrowed tension. Mornings were strange at first. No commentary, no corrections, no passive reviews of how I poured coffee or breathed too loudly. Just silence. It turns out silence isn't empty. It's spacious. I didn't become a monk. I didn't find myself in Bali. I didn't reinvent my wardrobe or post quotes about growth. I just lived without being managed. She reached out a few times. Not apologies, updates. Subtle ones, strategic ones. You'd like this new place. People still ask about you. I hope you're not telling anyone lies. I replied politely, briefly, like you do with a former employer you. Don't hate but don't miss. Eventually, the messages stopped. From what I heard, she found someone else. Confident, loud, decisive. Everything she said she wanted. Last I heard, she was already complaining that he never listens and doesn't respect her input. Funny how patterns work. As for me, I didn't become stronger overnight. I just stopped shrinking. That was enough. I learned that respect doesn't arrive after humiliation, and love doesn't require an audience. Sometimes the bravest thing a man can do isn't to fight. It's to stand up quietly, take his coat, and leave the room where he's only valued as a prop. I don't hate Christy. I understand her. And that understanding is exactly why I never went back. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.